Coaching carousel was slowing down, or it was until Michigan decided to fire their coach an hour before I started recording this video. The college football playoff is set. We're going to check out my top 5 prospects at each of the skill positions for the 2026 NFL Draft. We're going to talk about all of that and more coming up next on the Draft Countdown Show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Draft Countdown Show. I'm your host, Brian Bosards, and I'm here to tell you that we are 133 days away from the 2026 NFL Draft. And for discussions about the NFL Draft, all the craziness that we're talking about on the college football coaching carousel, and more, head over to the Discord channel. Join up on that. You can get there by clicking this QR code right here, or you can click the link down below, or you can go to draftcountdown.com. Top right corner of the search bar is a link to join the Discord there. So with all that being said, let's get into the news. As I said in the open, coaching carousel had kind of slowed down a bit, and then Michigan decided to take over the news cycle today. They have fired head coach Sherrone Moore, allegedly with cause. This literally broke, like I said, an hour before I started recording this show. I'm doing this on Wednesday afternoon at 4:30 Central Time. And per Ross Dellinger of On3, Michigan uncovered some off-the-field transgressions, which per Pete Thamel turned into an inappropriate relationship with the staffer. And then per other reports after that, he got the said staffer pregnant. Not great. There isn't no kind of sex that's worth losing that kind of job over, and that's what Sherrone Moore has allegedly done here. So a week after the early signing period, Michigan is now without a head coach. Biff Poggi, the former Charlotte head coach, you may know him as the guy that wears the cutoff sleeves, will be the interim coach for the bowl game. But Michigan on the hunt for a head coach after pretty much everybody's already gotten locked down with raises thanks to Penn State. We're going to talk about them in just a second. But, it's wild. I'm not sure where Michigan turns from here. We'll talk about it more going forward. We're definitely going to talk about it on the Discord. So, again, that's a good reason to go sign up for that and hear that news. But Sherrone Moore fired for allegedly getting a staffer pregnant. And Michigan will be getting out of his contract per everything I've gathered here. Anyway, other news not involving sexual transgressions. Penn State is hiring Iowa State head coach Matt Campbell to take over their program. We've dogged and joked about Penn State for weeks now, and they essentially back into one of the best candidates they could have gotten in the entire process here. Campbell has done a great job with what can only be described as less than ideal financial and recruiting situations in Ames, Iowa. He now comes to Penn State where he'll basically have a blank check and able to recruit to his heart's desire and develop. I know we know he can develop talent. Now he's going to be developing better talent theoretically. So this seems like a very good hire for the Nittany Lions there. They seemingly got this one right after seemingly bungling it for weeks. Iowa State wasted absolutely no time in replacing Matt Campbell. They have hired Washington State head coach Jimmy Rogers to replace Campbell. Rogers coached Washington State for 1 year after previously winning a national title as a head coach at South Dakota State. This feels like a hire that will work for the Cyclones. The overlap in recruiting areas for Iowa State and the Missouri Valley Football Conference Dakota schools there that he is very familiar with should work. And again, another guy that has no issues developing talent. So I feel like this is a good hire for Iowa State. At this point in time, Washington State has not replaced Rogers as of yet. James Madison has hired former Florida head coach Billy Napier to lead the Dukes. Napier had a ton of success when he was in the Sun Belt at University of Louisiana, and he hopes to replicate that and more for James Madison. He is, of course, replacing Bob Chesney, who is headed to UCLA, but is coaching the Dukes in the playoff. More on that in a second. UAB is removing the interim tag from Alex Mortensen and giving him the permanent job. He led an upset of Memphis the week after he took over when Trent Dilfer was fired. Mortensen is, of course, the son of the late, great NFL insider Chris Mortensen. Memphis has hired Southern Miss head coach Charles Huff to be their new head coach. Huff turned around the Golden Eagles this year. They were garbage, end up finishing 7-5. They kind of stumbled down the stretch a little bit. Injury to their quarterback kind of put them back a little bit the year after they came over from Marshall. But a great head coach, great recruiter, Charles Huff. He'll do fine at Memphis. No word yet on Southern Miss's head coaching job. It appears that the leading candidate, from everything I can gather, is a former Arkansas State and Utah State head coach, Blake Anderson, who is the offensive coordinator currently at Southern Miss. UConn is bringing in Toledo head coach Jason Candle to take over its program, left vacated by Jim Mora Jr., heading to Colorado State. Candle's been the Rockets head coach for the last 10 years and has been a consistent winner in the MAC. He will take over UConn. Toledo, to replace him, is hiring Mercer head coach Mike Jacobs to the head coach position. Jacobs led Mercer to the number 6 seed in FCS this year, and this comes on the heels of him having a good run at Division II Notre Dame College. Some coordinator news in a weird turn of events. James Franklin is hiring Brent Pry to be his defensive coordinator at Virginia Tech. This would normally just be a ho-hum, another hire we probably wouldn't even talk about, if not for Pryor being the head coach that Virginia Tech fired after the third game of the season this year. So he's coming back to be the defensive coordinator at the school he was just fired from 3 months ago. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I know he was the defensive coordinator at Penn State under Franklin, so they have a great relationship. This just seems weird. Plus, how's the whole buyout thing work? I don't know. It's a weird deal. And finally, in news that is probably only relevant to people like me, South Carolina is hiring TCU offensive coordinator Kendall Briles to the same position. Briles will replace the ousted Mike Shula at that position. Briles has bounced around from Baylor to FAU to Florida State to Arkansas and TCU before he lands at Columbia this year. There are parts of this hire that I'm not thrilled with. The whole Baylor situation, not happy about that. But from a purely football perspective, the offense that he runs should be very beneficial to the Gamecocks going forward. They also hired Stan Drayton, former Temple head coach and Penn State running back coach, to be the running back coach, and they hired the offensive line coach, whose name escapes me at the moment, from TCU as well. So they've completely remade that staff. All right. College football playoff bracket is out. The 12 teams that will be competing for the national championship this year are set. And as you can see it on the screen here, or if you're just listening and not paying attention to the screen, the number 1 seed Indiana winning the Big Ten championship. Last week, Ohio State literally just dropped from 1 to 2. They say the 2 here. Georgia, the SEC champion, is the 3rd seed. Texas Tech The Big 12 champion is the 4 seed. The top 5 conference champions automatically qualify. Tulane is the American Conference champion, normally would have been in the 12 spot as the 11 seed, but Virginia, and thanks to the ACC's cockamamie tiebreaker policy, which they're going to change. It's just going to happen. This is a national embarrassment for them. Duke beat Virginia in overtime in the ACC championship game. 5-loss Duke was not going to get in the playoff. So James Madison, the Sun Belt champion, becomes the 5th auto qualifier conference champion. They were 24th, I think, in the final rankings. Tulane was 21st or 20th or something. So 2 group of 5 schools qualify for the playoff here, conference champions. Tulane will play at Ole Miss in the first round. James Madison will play at Oregon. Alabama, controversially, in some realms of space here, loses the SEC championship game bad. I mean, they were routed by Georgia, dominated in that game. But Bama gets in, 3-loss team. They will go to Oklahoma in the first round of the playoffs. Texas A&M, the 7 seed, 1-loss Texas A&M team, will host Miami, who gets in as an at-large from the ACC, despite and the fact that the ACC got their conference champion didn't get in. But Miami does get in. They get in seemingly because of the head-to-head win they have over Notre Dame in the first week of the season. Notre Dame lost that game. They lost by 1 point to Texas A&M and then romped pretty much everybody else they played the rest of the way. But side-by-side comparison, Miami gets in over them because of the head-to-head. In my opinion, that is accurate. Now, you can argue whether Notre Dame should be in over Alabama or not. I'm not here to say that. Alabama does have 3 top 15 wins, I think. So, or 3 top 20 wins, including a head-to-head victory over Georgia earlier in the season. So, how's the playoff going to shake out? Well, let's just go ahead and get my predictions on the record here. I'll lay it out. First round games, I got Oregon handily over James Madison. I think everybody will have that. I got Alabama beating Oklahoma in the rematch here. I think Bama gets it together. This is going to be, I mean, Oklahoma's defense is tough, but they can't score. Alabama can't run the ball. Something's got to give. I think Alabama wins this one. I got Ole Miss beating Tulane. They played earlier in the season, by the way, and Ole Miss won that game by 35 points. So I think Ole Miss wins again. I don't know why I think this. I think Miami beats Texas A&M on the road this game. I think Carson Beck has a good game, gets Miami over A&M. Second round, I got Texas Tech beating Oregon. That game, I think, will be at the Orange Bowl. I got Indiana beating Alabama in the second round. That game will be in the Rose Bowl. Give me Georgia over Ole Miss. That game will be in the Sugar Bowl. And give me Ohio State over Miami. That game's in the Cotton Bowl. The semifinal games, I'm not sure. I know it'll be the Peach Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl, but I'm not sure who goes to what. Give me Texas Tech upsetting Indiana in the semifinals. Give me Ohio State beating Georgia in the other, and give me Ohio State back-to-back national champions beating Texas Tech in the national championship game. That's how I got the playoff. Let us know in the comments how you think the playoffs are going to shake out, and we'll chat about it in the comments here of the video. But yeah, that's how I got it. Ohio State over Texas Tech in the national championship game. One other piece of news regarding the college ball playoffs and bowl games is Iowa State and Kansas State both going through coaching changes, as we talked about. They backed out of their bowl games. I assume it's coaching change related. So Notre Dame, after getting left out of the college ball playoff, decided just to bail. They were supposed to go to the Pop-Tarts Bowl. They're like, no, we're done. Screw that. And so that left the ACC scrambling, moving all their teams around to fill bowl spots. And therefore that left the Birmingham Bowl in a lurch for hours after the playoff announcement, trying to find a team. We ended up having to have 3 5-7 teams and that goes by something called academic progress rate or something. And that's how they decide the 5 and 7 teams in order to go, and then you can decline the bowl. So Rice, who's always going to be at the top of those APR rankings, was the first team to accept. They ended up in one of the bowl games. Mississippi State took one of the other spots, but they had at least 7 other schools decline the bowl spot before we ended up landing on Appalachian State accepting to play in the Birmingham Bowl against Georgia Southern. So 2 Sun Belt schools will face off in that game, and they played each other like 3 weeks ago. So thanks, Notre Dame. All right, let's go on now to the Tankathon top 10 of the NFL draft this week. And we got some changes, action, if you will, this week. Again, tankathon.com for these, where we get this each and every week. But the Giants had the week off, and with the Titans getting a dub, the Giants now move up to the top pick in the draft. 3, 2, and 11 teams at the top. The Giants have played the weakest schedule, and after losing 7 in a row, they have the first pick. The Raiders pop up to the second pick. They also have lost 7 games in a row. And the Titans, as mentioned, get the dub this week over the Browns, I believe it was. And the Titans are now the third pick in the draft. Titans have played what appears to be the toughest schedule in the NFL this season. So they got that going for them. The Browns lead a gaggle of 5 3 and 10 teams, but the Browns, having a 486 strength of schedule, they come in at the 4th pick in the draft. The Saints will come in at the 5th pick. The Commanders, losers of 8 in a row, the longest losing streak in the NFL at the moment, are now up to the 6th pick in the draft. The Jets to the 7th pick, and the Cardinals, losers of 5 in a row, come in at the 8th pick in the draft. 2, 4, and 9 teams round out the top 10, but one of them don't get to pick. The Falcons, who traded that pick last year. The Rams, now coming in at the 9th pick in the draft. And the Bengals, after losing that disastrously again. Another fun way to lose. They lose to the Bills this week, and they fall to 4-9. They now have the 10th pick. Minnesota's 11th. Miami, Baltimore, and Kansas City. Baltimore, Kansas City, 2 teams you would thought would be in the playoffs. Nowhere close at the moment. 12, 13, and 14 there. Dallas, 15. Carolina, Detroit, 16, 17. And the Colts fall out of the playoffs after losing 3 games in a row, bringing in Phillip Rivers. May end up starting. Phillip Rivers was coaching high school football about 30 miles down the road from me, and been retired for 5 years. Probably going to start an NFL game this week for the Colts. Colts getting desperate, trying to save that season. The Jets currently on their first round pick, which right now is the 18th pick in the draft. All right, so who is coming to the Senior Bowl this week? Who's accepted those invites? There was a lot this week. And so we're going to go position by position and talk about each of the players that have come in here. And that starts at the quarterback position. And I've said it before, I don't think he's going to be the highest draft pick, but he's probably going to be the one that gets the most attention in Mobile. And that's Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia. Accepted his invite this week. It'll be a lot of hype, a lot of fun, a Heisman finalist. But Pavia going to be at the Senior Bowl. Another running back this week, Seth McGowan from Kentucky, accepts the invite here. Several wide receivers coming in, accepted invites this week, including Ted Hurst from Georgia State. Good size, one of the most productive receivers in the Sun Belt this year. Colin Lacey, one of the best return men in the country, former South Alabama player, played his high school ball in Mobile. He'll be coming home to the Senior Bowl, currently playing at Louisville. And Caleb Douglas, the big wide receiver from Texas Tech, 6'4", 210. He's one of several Texas Tech players that received received invitations, one of two that has so far accepted their invite, but Caleb Douglas taking that invite to the Senior Bowl. Couple of tight ends coming to the Senior Bowl now. Tanner Koziol from Houston, transfer over from Ball State a few years ago. The big guy, 6'7", 230, solid receiving target, day 3 guy. He's going to be here, as well as Sam Roush from Stanford. Got popped on my radar a few weeks ago. 6'5", 260, good all-around player. He'll be here as well. Couple of offensive tackles accepted this week. Jeremiah Wright from Auburn. Austin Barber from Florida, and versatile offensive lineman from Oregon, Alex Harkey. He's probably going to line up all over the place during the Senior Bowl practices. So one of the better guys I've seen that I like anyway so far, interior offensive lineman from Florida, Jake Slaughter, accepts his invite to play. 3 edge rushers coming in. Jack Pyburn from LSU, very hustle guy. There, Kieron Crawford from Auburn, been the most productive edge rusher for them this year, even more so than Keldrick Falk, though Keldrick Falk's probably going to – Falk also has an invite, but has not accepted because he hasn't declared for the draft yet. But Falk, not as productive as Crawford, but he's got height, weight, speed potential out the yin-yang. Few interior defensive linemen coming. We got Caleb Banks from Florida. Injuries this season, came in as a top 15 prospect into the season. Can he get back to that level? I think so. Can't wait to see him down here. From Michigan, Rayshon Benny coming in as well. A little undersized on the interior, but Zane Durant from Penn State was very productive last year, kind of fell off a little bit this year, but a guy who I think can produce at the NFL level in a rotational basis. And Lee Hunter, great athlete for his size, 6'4", 325, another local kid from Mobile, played at Blount High School, has bounced around a little bit, went from Auburn to UCF, and before finally landing at Texas Tech this year. No linebackers at this point have accepted an invite in either week. But at corner, we had several this week, and that includes TJ Hall from Iowa, Colin Wright from Stanford, a guy I really like, a long, very rangy corner, Ephesians Presock from Washington, guy I like a lot, top 100 potential player there. And Charles Demings from Stephen F. Austin, one of the maybe I think the only FCS player at this point to accept an invite. But Demings has a lot of big fans out there. A couple of safeties. Two safeties this week, including a potential top 50 player, Emmanuel McNeil Warren from Toledo. Great player, ball hawk, rangy, can hit. He's going to turn some heads in Mobile that week. Bud Clark, veteran safety from TCU, another missile type safety coming down, making the big hits. Couple of kicker Drew Stevens from Iowa was the other. Senior Bowl roster is filling up. Well, the exceptions are filling up right now anyway. But yeah. And speaking of the Senior Bowl, 11th year in a row. I've been credentialed as a member of the media. Went to my first Senior Bowl game 1987. So almost 40 years of seeing this game here in Mobile, and 11th year covering as media. It's my favorite, one of my favorite times of the year. So excited to be doing it again. And Draft Countdown and this show is where it's going to be at. We're going to have you covered each and every week, both at draftcountdown.com, or each and every day, I should say, of that week over at draftcountdown.com and right here on this show. We'll probably have a show every night that week. So be sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you get notified when them Senior Bowl videos drop that week, and, like the videos and all that. All right. Only watched 4 games last week during the championship games, and some prospects that stood out to me. None more than Ohio State edge rusher Caden Curry, 7 tackles against Indiana in the loss, but had 2 sacks and a pass breakup. talked about him last week in the lead up to the game, and he did not disappoint in the MAC championship game. Western Michigan edge, Nadane Tucker, 6 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and 4 hurries in that win over Miami of Ohio. Some other standouts in that game, Western Michigan running back Jalen Buckley, 19 carries for 193 and 2 scores. James Madison running back Wayne Knight in the Sun Belt Championship game had 21 carries for 212 yards and a touchdown. Indiana corner D'Angelo Pons. He's undersized, but man, I think he's going to be a hell of a nickel at the next level. Probably going to be at least my second-rated nickel corner behind Jalen Kilgore from South Carolina. But Pons, 9 tackles, 6 solos in that game, was shadowing some of the Ohio State receivers all night. And their safety, Lewis Moore, we've talked about him before, 6 tackles and an interception. All right, so I wanted to get just kind of an update going here on where I stand on some of the player rankings here. And so I want to have a little quick segment talking about that. But so we're going to talk about the top 5 players I have at each of the skill positions. Right now, as it stands, if the season were, the process were to start today, we'll start at the quarterback position. Number 1 quarterback on my board right now is Fernando Mendoza. He's the only one I feel 100% sure about of the underclassmen that's going to be in this class. Dante Moore from Oregon comes in at 2. Moore, I think, I don't think he's going to declare, but as this process goes along, it really depends on, maybe they make a big run, but Moore could, see the opportunity here to be a top 2 to 3 draft pick and go ahead and enter the draft this year. Number 3 is Ty Simpson. He's had a rough go of it the last couple of weeks against Auburn and against Georgia in the championship game. I think he definitely needs to go back to school. He's having some issues with the blitz and pressures and all that. He's got some work to do. He's only made maybe 13 starts now in his college career. He needs another look. Same with Marcel Reed from Texas A&M. He's another one currently ranked 4 here on my quarterback list, and he needs to probably go back to school as well. But if he were to declare, I think he'd have a chance to elevate himself. And currently my number 5 quarterback, and it kind of shows you where this class is at the quarterback position, is Sawyer Robertson from Baylor. It's going to be at the Senior Bowl. Currently my number 5 quarterback prospect, but it's almost by default. So we'll see how it shakes out as we go along. All-Star, see how he does at All-Star games, see how some of these other seniors. But man, with Lenore Sellers kind of taking a step back, and I expecting him to go back to school. Arch Manning the same way. Some of these others we were really high on coming into the season, just kind of falling off a little bit. So how you end up with a guy like Sawyer Robertson, who may not even be a top 100 player when it's all said and done, but currently comes in at number 5 on my board. And if some of these others go back, I mean, man, what if Moore goes back to school, Simpson goes back, Reed, all these guys go back? Man, it's not good for teams that need quarterbacks. All right, let's move on to running backs. Number 1 is Jeremiah Love. Not even close. That's not up for debate. He's the top running back in this class. You can debate the next 4, but Jonah Coleman from Washington is my current number 2. Jadarian Price from Notre Dame, my current number 3. Emmett Johnson from Nebraska comes in at number 4. He is declared for the draft. And Katron Allen from Penn State is my current number 5. All those guys, 2 through 5, probably going to be interchangeable, depending on team needs and fits. But yeah, Jeremiah Love is heads above everybody else on this. At wide receiver, my number 1 wide receiver is Carnell Tate from Ohio State. I think he's done enough. He started my season at number 1, then he's kind of bounced down a little bit. Now, the way this season's progressed, he's back over the top. Jordan Tyson from Arizona State, currently number 2 for me. Makai Lemon, Southern Cal, great route runner, just tremendous player. He's number 3. Denzel Boston from Washington currently comes in at number 4. I think all 4 of those guys, should they declare ends up in the first round. And my number 5 receiver is the big, fast guy from Louisville, Chris Bell. Tight end, again, some interchangeable guys here, but I think number 1 is far and away Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon. Behind him, I have Eli Stowers from Vandy at number 2. Michael Trigg from Baylor, who's not a pure tight end in my opinion, but he's a weapon out wide. Brett Norfleet from Missouri and Max Clare from Ohio State round out the top 5. Again, you could reorder 2 through 5 there, maybe even some guys at 6 and 7 if you want to bring them in. But you can, those guys could be interchangeable depending on team fit and scheme. But Sadiq, to me, is at the top of the charts. All right, time for the question and answer segment. And how do you ask questions? How do you get them answered on this show? Again, it's the Discord, baby. This is a Discord exclusive segment on the show. You scan that QR code up there to join, or you can click the link down below on this video, or you can go to draftcountdown.com, top right corner of the search bar. Once you join the Discord, there's a section called Podcast. You ask your question there. I'll reach out to you to ask questions as well during the week, just to kind of remind people. And you ask your question, I will answer it during this segment of the show. We got some fun ones this week, to say the least. So our colleague at Draft Countdown, Brian Lamb, has asked, please rank the 6 flavors of the Pop-Tarts Bowl mascots. So for those of you who may be unaware of the greatness that is the Pop-Tarts Bowl, they have an edible mascot. And by that, the team gets to choose which flavor of mascot they want to eat. It started with one. They just kind of gave them a flavor. And then last couple of years, they've got to pick the flavor or something along them lines. Well, now they've got 2 teams of 3 flavors. And I don't know if they're assigning these teams to the schools that are playing. BYU and Georgia Tech, the teams playing in the Pop-Tarts Bowl, by the way. So apparently there is Team Sprinkles and Team Swirls. I don't know. So let's just go with this. I am not the biggest Pop-Tart guy. I am a plain Jane Pop. I don't even like frosted Pop-Tarts. I like unfrosted strawberry Pop-Tarts. I am probably not the guy to be judging this. And I will say that I have eaten absolutely none of the flavors that I'm about to rank 1 through 6 here. So with that being said, let's rank the flavors 1 through 6. We have, these are the 6, how they're listed. Team Sprinkles is Protein Slammin' Strawberry, Frosted Cherry, and Frosted Cookies and Cream. Team Swirls is Frosted Chocolate Chip Cookie Dough, Frosted Wild Berry, and Frosted Hot Fudge Sundae. So, having, again, preface this by saying I've eaten none of these, and I like my Pop-Tarts without frosting. Number 1 on here, I'm going to go with Frosted Hot Fudge Sundae, because that just tastes like it would be good. Right? Probably get some marshmallows, some of the chocolate flavor from the fudge. That sounds good to me. Number 2, I'm going to go with Frosted Cookies and Cream. Just because, you probably get the cookie crumble in there or whatever. I like that. Having had other wild berry flavors, I'm not a fan of that. So I have had a cherry Pop-Tart before. I didn't really like it. I also don't like the way cookie dough tastes, but I like chocolate chips. So I'm going to go Frosted Chocolate Chip Cookie Dough 3rd. And then I'm going to go Frosted Wild Berry 4th. Followed by Frosted Cherry. And last, I'm going to go Protein Slammin' Strawberry, just because based on prior eating of any protein flavored stuff, it generally has that bad aftertaste to it. And I'm just going to assume these are the same. So Hot Fudge Sundae 1, Chocolate Chip Cookie Dough 2, Cookies and Cream 3. I'm sorry. Cookies and Cream 2, Chocolate Chip Cookie Dough 3, Frosted Cherry 4th, Wild Berry 5th, and Protein Slammin' Strawberry 6th. There you go, Brian. That is the rankings of the Pop-Tarts Bowl mascot flavors. Tune in to, I don't remember when the bowl game is, but tune in to that, see which one gets eaten at the end of the game. Zach asked, what are the 5 worst bowl game names? So I keep this simple. We're going to go with this year's bowl season only, and we're going to not put these in any particular order. So I just went through today and just gathered 5 worst bowl game names for this year. Starting with the one that is this upcoming Saturday, the Bucked Up LA Bowl hosted by Gronk. I had no idea what Bucked Up was. I had to look this up. It's apparently some kind of supplement company that appears to be marketed to people that look like the host of this show, Gronk. Yeah, so not great. Next up is the Game Above Sports Bowl. This one's played in Detroit. I had no idea what Game Above is. Had to look this up. Apparently, it is a privately held global investment company. That sounds like private equity to me. I hate all of those people. So Game Above gets on the list here. This could also apply, by the way, to the 68 Ventures Bowl that's played in Mobile. 68 Ventures is some sort of private fund deal. All those people are garbage. Next up is new to the slate this year. It is the Bush's Boca Raton Bowl of Beans. Beans in itself are just gross. So you're being sponsored by Bush's Baked Beans here or whatever. And then come to find out that unlike the Duke's Mayo Bowl and the Cheez-It Bowl and the Potato Bowl and all these others, apparently the winning head coach is not going to have a cooler full of baked beans dumped on his head. So you'll lose that anyway. The ReliaQuest Bowl comes up next. And I, to this day, still don't know what ReliaQuest is. But this game used to be the Outback Bowl, and that was great, and you killed it. You killed the Outback Bowl. You killed people getting a free bloomin' onion or coconut shrimp, depending on what team won. Screw you guys and screw the ReliaQuest. And finally, the Wasabi Fenway Bowl, because apparently Wasabi in this case is a cloud storage company and not the hot stuff that you put on sushi. That's confusing to people, and that gets you on the list. So 5 worst bowl game names this year: Bucked Up LA Bowl, Game Above Sports Bowl, Bush's Boca Raton Bowl of Beans, ReliaQuest Bowl, Wasabi Fenway Bowl. Screw all your bowl games. I'm going to watch them, but it doesn't matter. All right, final thoughts this week. Just going to let everybody know we're going to be taking a 2-week hiatus from the show. Next week, I have some familial obligations. In addition to the day that I normally record this show is the day of the 68 Ventures Bowl that I just talked about. I'll be covering that game for Draft Countdown. So I'll be over there in the press box for that one. And then the week after that is, of course, Christmas. Not going to record this show on Christmas Eve. Not going to record it in 23rd. Just too much stuff going on, man. We've all got families. You all know that. So we're going to skip that week as well. But we'll come back the week after and record a show and get caught up on everything that's happened in the last 2 weeks. We'll talk about the position rankings for the defense, for the offensive line, and the rest of the defensive positions as well. So we'll tie up the rest of the loose ends to close out 2025. So if I don't interact with any of you between now and then, just want to let you know that Die Hard is the best Christmas movie, will always be the best Christmas movie. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfuckers. Merry Christmas to all.